Welcome back. Hong Kong pro-democracy activist and former media tycoon Jimmy Lai has been sentenced to 20 years in prison on charges of foreign collusion and sedition. This marks the harshest punishment yet under Hong Kong's controversial Beijing-imposed National Security Law, or NSL. The founder of the now shuttered Apple Daily newspaper was first arrested back in 2020 and convicted last year. Lai has denied charges against him. Jimmy Lai's son, Sebastien, you see him on the right of your screen, and Jonathan Price on the left, a member of Jimmy Lai's international legal team, join us now to talk about this from London. Good morning to you both, gentlemen. Sebastien, I just want to start with you. What is your reaction to the sentencing of your 78-year-old father to 20 years? What's your response to that?
It's obviously devastating, but we expected it. This is something that, they had this long and horrible show trial of him for the last 5 years. He's been in solitary confinement this whole time. And we always knew that it didn't matter what they found, which is nothing in the trial, that they were going to sentence him to a very, very heavy sentence. And at his age, he's 78 now. This is basically a life sentence. I don't know how much longer he has.
And Jonathan, help us understand that. Britain's Foreign Secretary says she's deeply concerned about Jimmy Lai's health. Tell us about his condition and help us understand how much contact you've had either with him or with his legal team.
We've had limited contact with him and his legal team. The authorities in Hong Kong do not recognise that he's British, despite him only having a British passport. He's a UK national. They will not acknowledge that. He's a 78-year-old man with all the health conditions that comes with. In fact, he is a diabetic and has had a lot of complications arising out of that. With someone of that age, it's never nothing. The smallest thing can develop very quickly, and he's had all sorts of really quite serious health concerns in the last several years, and they've only got worse. You're right, the British Foreign Secretary has expressed the UK's concern. They continue to be very concerned. They will continue to press for his release. They've correctly called out his detention and conviction as politically motivated, which is what it is.
Now, Mr. Lai ran a pro-democracy newspaper. Hong Kong used to be, before 2020, a place where democratic ideals were growing in some respects. Sebastien, there are other political levers that may be able to be pulled. President Trump, for example, is expected to visit Beijing later this year and meet with Xi Jinping. What is your message for the U.S. president?
I would just like to thank the president and the people of the United States from the bottom of my heart. My father's case has always had many champions in the U.S., the president being the chief among them. It's an incredibly valuable opportunity to remind Xi Jinping that the case was raised once by President Trump, and that is still outstanding. And since then, they've sentenced him to 20 years. And this is something that the president cares about, many people in the administration cares about, many people across the political spectrum cares about. And look, if the Chinese and Hong Kong government can't even put a 78-year-old man who's in horrible health on a plane and send him back to London or to the US, well, then it's very telling of how they think about the relationship that they have with us.
And so, Jonathan, what may come next? What might be some avenues of appeal or the next steps for Jimmy Lai's legal team, do you think?
So the domestic legal team will decide about whether or not to pursue an appeal. In the meantime, there are a number of other defendants, including the two corporate entities, the companies that ran the newspaper publishing business that Jimmy Lai founded and so successfully managed for so long. They have been sentenced to fines of 3 million Hong Kong dollars. They've gone out of business. Hong Kong has lost its only true independent voice, and it's not been replaced. The rule of law in Hong Kong is irreparably damaged. Even were there to be another process, an appeal process would take many years with an uncertain outcome. It's pretty obvious what's going to happen. They have determined to keep this man in prison. The 20-year sentence is a resounding retort of the death of press freedom and rule of law in Hong Kong.
Well, I really appreciate you both speaking to us at such a challenging time. Sebastien Lai and Jonathan Price, we appreciate you joining us here this Monday.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.